Welcome students who are taking Math for Business and Finance and Math Applications, and welcome to the last chapter in the textbook. Okay, and this one covers business statistics, and again, I'm not sure how many videos the theory will, this set of videos is about the theory of statistics, and I'm not sure exactly how many videos it's going to take for me to cover this, okay? So just bear with me and be patient here. And if you don't understand something, definitely go back and watch the video again. And as always, if you still don't understand something, contact an instructor. Right, so let's move on. Right. Okay, now statistics. As you probably just quickly read, right? Everyone uses it. Okay, so anyone who's in the business curriculum, in a business curriculum, you're going to have a subject called business statistics. Although this is only one chapter, and honestly, it covers like the first three chapters. It's a condensed version of the first three chapters of the business statistics textbook. It behooves you to, study this and stick it in the back of your head, okay? Because when you get to statistics, the subject itself, you will, you'll be covering it again, and at least you'll have some inkling about what's going on instead of trying to study it from scratch. All right. So, this is one of those important concepts that are covered again and again and again. Unfortunately, you are going to see, you're going to have an opportunity to learn about statistics in this math, and you'll learn about statistics when you take business statistics. However, you use it for other things, and that's why I've put this, everyone uses it. Those people who are in vet tech or in the medical and who are taking this this subject and have to go through this chapter, and of course all of the business people, everyone might be thinking, well, why do I need statistics? Well, statistics are heavily used in especially things like marketing, and also when it comes to things like having scientific data, or studies that are being done. I happen to be reading a book called The China Study, and it's about nutrition. And even though they do the studies, they have to apply statistical analysis to the studies to determine what's relevant and what isn't relevant. So if you're in the vet tech program or in a medical program, you're still going to be using statistics in those programs, because you're going to be collecting data. You might have to analyze things, and it has to fall within a statistical norm. Statistics really came about because someone started noticing certain correlations between things, and it's become a branch of mathematics because the mathematicians applied their thinking to that, what this person had started to notice, and they found that there's an awful lot of similarity. We talk about probabilities and normal distribution, okay, and these have it's become almost it's a standard, okay, that we use, that can apply to just about anything and everything. All right, so it does behoove you to have some idea of the underlying principles and concepts of statistics, so that when you're using it in whatever profession or in whatever way that you see it, whether it's marketing or in studies or whatever have you, you'll have some idea as to what you're actually looking at. And so that's why I say everyone uses it. Okay. Now, I had said, if you were listening to me in these last 4 minutes, you had heard me say that this chapter in this textbook basically is a condensation of, it condenses the first three chapters of the business statistics textbook. Okay. And so I'm going to try to make it as easy as possible and cover just the high points, and so that you have an understanding of these high points. But what I noticed about this particular chapter is that it only goes in, it's only applying to one thing. When you talk about statistics overall, there's a population and a sample. Okay, a population, let's just say we're going to talk about the population being, the population of the United States. Okay, that can be an entire population. Now, I realize that this might not be the best example, because when we think about the number of people in the United States, we're going to call it a population. We can think about a population being, say, the population of the number of purses in the United States. Okay? So a population is, you set a parameter, and it's all the instances within that parameter. Now, there's also this concept of a sample, and the sample is basically a subset of the population. Meaning, let's just say we want to take a sample of the population in the United States, and we're talking about that sample of the people who live in, say, the southeastern part of the United States. Well, that's a sample of the entire population. Or we can say the number of purses in the United States. Well, a sample might be the number of men who carry purses. Okay. Or we can say the number of women who are who have black hair who carry purses. Okay, so they're samples. It's a portion of the population. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because this chapter doesn't differentiate between populations and samples. Okay, they treat everything as if it is a sample. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this all up is because when you get to business statistics as a subject, you don't, you have to make a distinction between whether you're talking about the population or you're talking about a sample of the population. But when you're learning the material, and you're going to learn about, in this particular chapter, you're going to learn about standard deviation. Okay, and I'll get to that in a future slide here. Okay, however, a standard deviation has a formula, and the formula that you use one for population, and you have a formula for sample. Now, the way you learn, the way you can learn statistics is if you look at the formula for the population and you look at the formula for the sample, you'll notice a slight difference. So you don't have to memorize both formulas. What you do is you memorize or understand the concept for one of the formulas, and then you know how to tweak it for the other. And what do I mean by this? Well, for the population, one of our denominators is called n, which would be the number of instances of the population. But and that's as a denominator, all right? When we look at a sample, whatever's in the numerator, okay, whatever's in the numerator is still going to be in the numerator. But when we look in the sample, we have an n minus 1 in the denominator, and this minus 1 is the only difference between those two formulas. So when you're learning statistics, when you go into that particular subject, you'll have to be thinking in terms of either a population or a sample, but realize that you don't have to memorize the two of them differently. What you do is you memorize one and then you pay attention to the difference in the other. Okay, but like I said, mostly in this particular in this chapter here, where I think they're only dealing with the sample. They're not really dealing with the population. As a matter of fact, they're not even discussing it. Okay, but I'm just bringing this up to you so that you have some idea as to what you're getting yourself into when you're thinking about statistics. So with that said, I'm going to stop here. Okay, just realize that if you're in vet tech or medical, okay, pay attention to this because you're going to need it in your profession, and you need to understand those underlying concepts. For everybody, realize that this is only one chapter, and it covers the first 3 chapters in the business statistics textbook or in any introductory statistics textbook. Remember, statistics is a separate branch of mathematics. You don't take just one subject for statistics. You have a whole, 4 or 5 different subjects that you have to take in order to get quote-unquote statistics. So this here is really at a very, very introductory level, and people struggle with it because it's very difficult and you have to think very differently about it. Statistics can be broken down into populations and samples, and really, since a sample is a subset of population, everything that you learn, you just do a little bit of tweaking. So if you understand population, just pay attention to the tweaking and you understand samples. And that's the way you go about learning this material. Okay, so with that, I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to pick up in the next video and start talking about more of the concrete concepts for statistics.